Anyway, so bear with me. If you have downloaded the slides, there are a lot of them. There's 70.
Yes.
Yes. Ready to
We need
speak
to
up?
up the volume a little bit.
Okay. Is that better? Kind of shout a little.
Can you?
Okay. Is that better? I'm hearing some echo. Okay, cool. I struggled with whether to do this as a demo versus slides. Chose slides so as they could be available after the fact. So we'll begin. I thought the best way to start with advanced custom fields might be what was life like for me before advanced custom fields, which is probably very similar to what life is like for everyone before they have advanced custom fields or one of the other plugins that solves this problem. So let's build a website. We're going to have a home page. We're going to have some sort of projects. This particular client, they do some sort of project, and so they want to have all their projects online. And it's going to have some sort of blog where they're writing things about whatever industry they're in. The home page will be pretty standard. We'll have a giant hero image at the top. We're going to have a little blurb about our services, and those are going to have some nice icons because our designer is going to give us some really nice icons for our services area. And then we want to have some testimonials so that people know how great the client is. Pretty typical things that a company will want. Our homepage is going to look something like this. We've got a big image up at the top. You can see our 3-column side-by-side services area. And down below, we're going to do a nice a nice carousel or something like that with our testimonials listed out. Testimonials are going to have someone's photo and their name, and Acme Company was awesome. We loved their product. Hire them. The projects, we don't know how many projects, but each one's going to have a title and a description. It's going to have who the project manager was at the company who actually handled that project. Date ranges for when that project happened, some location information for where that project took place, and then we want to have a bunch of gallery images about what that project was. So when I was doing this, I had in mind a architecture company that I have a friend who works for, and I help them do some stuff on their website, and they have big projects that they make. They make buildings, and those buildings start and end. There's a project manager. Those buildings are in the physical world that have an address. And when they're done with it, they want people to say, hey, these are the pictures of the building, so you can hire us to make a building for you. So those are our projects. And they're going to look something like this. We've got a title at the top, a little left area that's going to have kind of all that meta information of the location and the project time rate, or start and end dates, that sort of thing. Image gallery below, description at the end. So this could easily be a graphic design project you worked on. It could be an interior design project. It could be something for a nonprofit where they're doing community outreach, an event, all kinds of stuff. And we're going to have blog posts, and they're going to have all the WordPress stuff we love. We'll put them in categories, tag them. They might have authors, publish dates, publish in the future, title, content, all the lovely WordPress stuff we have. So they will look something like this. They'll have a title, categories, as you can see. So if we're just going to use WordPress for stuff that's already in it, and we're going to build a custom theme, so we know some PHP and someone else will do the CSS or we'll do the CSS. But the important thing is we have WordPress as our tool, and we know some PHP to make templates. How are we going to do this? Well, home, we can make a page. It'll have a featured image that's in WordPress already, works really well. So the big giant image at the top, not a problem, that's taken care of. Columns, yeah. And lots of testimonials. Maybe we're going to have like 4 or 5 of them. So, yeah. These technically could be done in the editor. I mean, there's no reason you can't put it in code view and use some bootstrap classes on divs and make the columns and put your icons in there. You could do that. You could even do the same thing with the testimonials. There's no reason you couldn't put whatever carousel markup you need and add your JavaScript. You could do this straight in the WordPress editor, no problem. But my client can't do that in the WordPress editor. And the whole point of them having me build this website is so that they don't have to call me when they want to change the copy on the services page or when they want to add a new testimonial. So giant question marks, not really sure how we're going to handle that. The project page. Well, we're going to make a custom post type called a project. Seems like a good case for a custom post type. It'll have a title and it'll have a description, so those are really easy because we can use the content area for the write-up on the project. Not really sure how I'm going to get the project manager name, the location, address, all that stuff in there. In the image gallery, I'm not really sure how to do that either. Again, we could do it all in the editor, just code it, but my client can't do that. So now we've got to find a way to do that. Images, I imagine there's probably some really nice plugins out there to do image galleries. It's a pretty common thing. So I at least know I could probably go find a plugin to handle the image gallery for me. Blog page, I mean, this is at the heart of what WordPress was for. So we can blog all day long. I mean, that is what it is, right? So in summary, homepage, I don't know. So 1 out of 3, I'm confident right now. So here are ways to make it happen. There's a lot of ways to make it happen, and these are just some of the ones that I have been guilty of in the past. WordPress has something in it called custom fields. You might have seen this below the editor, usually on a page or a post, it'll show up below the editor. It's got a column on the left where you can add a name of whatever you want this piece of information to be called, and on the right of that is a text area where you can type in anything you want. So one way to do the home page is we go to the home page, and under there I add all of these. So I've got my home_service_1. That's going to be the first service. That will probably be on the left column on at least a desktop view. And then it's going to have the text of what that means. I have the second one there. The icons, I create a placeholder there, and that's going to have the name of the file. And then in my template, I'll take home_service_1_icon, and I'll append that to some path, probably to an image folder in my theme. And then any image in my theme that I have kind of in that folder, I could just come and put the name here, and it would show up where I wanted to. So that's my approach for the home page. You can do the same thing on the projects page. You can add these extra fields. So we've got the manager name, project start date, project end date, location. This is kind of maybe not as so great as some of you who may have done this before. One of the big problems is all of those any field you've already created is going to show up on the other area. So we'll see in just a second that all the stuff we added for the home page shows up on projects, and all the stuff for projects is also going to show up on the home page. So if my kind of core purpose for being hired is to create something that someone else can use, I'm kind of not really doing that here. I can use this, but my client, probably not. It doesn't have a way to really force consistency. You can type anything you want in those text boxes. So did I format the date right? Am I formatting the addresses right? That kind of thing. There's no way to force that to happen. There's also not a way to force something to be limited to specific options. So maybe one of the things that I have is my project is going to fall into 3 or 4 different categories. I don't want to use like a WordPress actual taxonomy. I just want a little drop down that says this was a large building, a medium-sized building, a small building, or something to that effect. There's not a way to force that using these kind of conventions. And like I said, also, it doesn't really play well with clients. So if the client wants to change that logo image or one of those icon images that we put up on the homepage, they have to know the actual name of the icon in the theme folder. And there's a good chance my client doesn't even know what a theme folder is, let alone what things I've added in there. So now I have to supply them lots of documentation to how to switch things out. So here's the screenshot of that. So any field you've added is now visible from the list anywhere else you've added. So here I was adding another project on my development environment, and all the fields I've added have showed up there. Not a big deal if you just have a handful of them, like even this is probably completely manageable, but if you have a site that's gonna have 20, 30, 40 custom fields, it gets to be a lot. Another thing you can see here is the lovely word location, which this is a legitimate accident. My typing is really not accurate most of the time, so I spell check a lot. And this one, now my template theme, so the tag that I would use this in a template is capital L location. So there's a good chance that for me at least, when I go to try to make this template now, location isn't gonna work because in my theme I'm gonna be using the word lowercase and it's not gonna find it. Here's an example, so should the dates be month and year with the 3-letter name of the month? Should they be month as a number, that sort of thing? Are we even in the United States? Should my client be able to do things where the numbers follow a different convention? Location, there's also no way to really indicate what location means. So here, location actually is specific latitude and longitude. So maybe I'm going to use this in some sort of mapping API where I'm actually just going to send them latitude and longitude and generate a map or something to that effect. Or maybe it should actually just be an address. But even at that, how do I control the formatting of the address, this kind of stuff? Here's the example as well. So in one situation, I've added location capital. The other one I've added lowercase. Those actually come in as 2 separate distinct fields. So now I could go into the template and I could use capital, or I could use lowercase. So this is how it would look out in the theme, typically. So we're inside of the loop here, which is a whole other WordPress topic. But here we have a specific project post. At the top there, I say get the fields. WordPress has a function, and that's going to give me all of the custom fields I have attached to this post. And then I usually like to set up my variables first and then just output them into the template. There's a myriad of different ways to do this. So if you've done it a different way, we've done it a different way. And that's that. So that's how we would use custom fields that are built into WordPress already. Other things you might do to try to shuffle content around. Widgets. So we used to create a widget area. We'd create a home page widget area, and in there we would add text, and that's where the services would be. They would actually be a widget inside of the widgets page. Testimonials, you could have done the same kind of way. Other things that I have done in the past is you could create a category called testimonials for posts, and you use that category on the home page so you're pulling in posts out of your blog as testimonials on the home page, and then everywhere else on your blog you exclude the category of testimonial so that your testimonials don't show up inside of your blog. That's kind of immensely frustrating in a way, because just remembering to filter out testimonial from all your categories, there are some very convenient shortcuts that WordPress has that will list out all of your categories, but it's maybe not as convenient to try to remove something from that list that it's giving you. The main reason for that is because that's not how WordPress is intended to work. It's not intended to use a category of posts as a content type hidden on the homepage. The other one that I'm also guilty of at some point in my life is creating fake pages. So under homepage, you would add a second page, and it would be like homepage service 1, and you never provide a link to that page out in public, but when you make the homepage, you pull in that post as well on the homepage, and so you're just using another page as placeholder to store content that should live on the homepage. These 3 things, they worked. There are projects out there in the world doing just fine that have these conventions, and there are other things people have done. These don't play with clients at all, because the client will call me in 3 weeks, 3 months after the projects. They say, hey, we want to add a new testimonial to the homepage. We went to the homepage and there were not any testimonials there. and I say, oh yeah, you have to add a blog post and call it a testimonial, and then it'll show up on the homepage. And they say, well, that's kind of dumb. And I say, yeah. Yeah, it is. We have another option. WordPress has something built into it they call the MetaBoxes API. It's kind of to solve some of the problems that we just saw a little bit. So it interfaces exactly with the custom fields that we saw, but it allows you to replace that with your own HTML form, whatever you want it to be. So this is taking those same custom fields that we had for the project that we added, so project_manager, etc., and replacing them with a text input, drop-down selects for the start date. So now that's great because I can control the month, I can control the years. On the template, I can put them out in the exact format I want them to be. Location is now a text area. It could, well, it's an input. It could become a text area. I could make it do lots of things. In fact, here I could go ahead and I could make it an address. So I could add multiple fields. So it could be street address 1, street address 2, city, state, zip code, the whole bit. If I was needing to do the latitude and longitude, I can create separate boxes for latitude and longitude, and then I can store them. It's really nice that this is built in for us. It has problems as well, though. It's just a lot of work. It feels like a lot of work. It doesn't feel like the right thing to do as a developer. I didn't include a code example. The Codex, the WordPress Codex, has great examples of how to do this, and there's tons of tutorials out there. But essentially, you create in your themes or as a plugin, you create an area where you're plugging into WordPress hooks, and you're writing out your own form. So you code out the inputs, you code out specifically what you want the selections to be, any HTML elements that you're using. So there's a lot of markup to write in that. The other problem is you kind of have to write your own save hook on top of that so that when you save the post, WordPress knows what you want all this information to go into. And that just starts to feel like a lot of work just to save. I'm just trying to save a project manager name and a couple dates. I'm not trying to do some machine learning or anything like that. And this seems like an awful lot of work just to save 4 pieces of data. The other thing that happens is any edits to that have to happen in code now. So the client can't go in and add extra options. They can't change the date format. They can't say, oh, we forgot this person as a team member. Now you have to go into your code, update it, and that's just extra hassle. So you ask, is there something better? Indeed. Not surprisingly, the subject of this talk, advanced custom fields. I put "be still my heart" there because if you talk to people who use advanced custom fields, they just love it. Like I've never met someone who's like, nah. Like everyone I know who uses advanced custom fields are like, no, it's like being a Rolling Stones fan. You know? You're like, yeah, the Rolling Stones. Like, yeah, advanced custom fields. Advanced custom fields specifically solves the problems that we just looked at. So it has a lovely admin area that feels like WordPress, and you create your fields right in the admin area. The configurations and possibilities inside this are immense, so I just tried to give some flavor of it. I mean, it's a massive plugin, and the power and flexibility it gives you is huge. So in the examples that we'll go through, just know that this is not by any means exhaustive. It's just to give you a flavor of how we might solve a couple of real problems that we have. You can create them and you can add them to posts. You can add them to pages. You can add them to a custom post type, which is great for us because we have a project's custom post type. You can add them to a specific page. So you can add them to only the home page. You can add them based on the template that's being used. So if you have a specific template that's maybe 2-column template is the name of your template, you can add fields to anything that uses that template. So that, in that case, it can be divorced from the post type or something like that. So, you can also add them to multiple things at the same time. You can add them by category. So you could say anything that's in the big red house category, whatever the big red house category is, would have a bunch of fields available to them. You can add them to pages and posts, but not custom post types. You could add them just to custom post types. You can put them just about anywhere you want. You can even exclude categories. So you could say these fields should be on every post except the big red house category for whatever reason. Now, if you've developed a theme or used plugins at all, you've probably downloaded 3 or 4 versions of the same plugin made by different people because the first one sounded amazing, but it didn't store your dates in the format you needed. And then the second one sounded amazing, but it didn't store something else in the format you needed. Or the other one, you found out that the thing you wanted about it was in the pro version, and the pro version is $100,000 a minute for having it. The plugin is really well made. I've never had any technical problems with the plugin itself, and I don't know anyone who's had any technical problems with the plugin itself. I'm not saying that there may not have been some, but in the 4 years that I've been using this, I've never come across any issues. The documentation is really good as well. So it's succinct, it's clear, and they provide examples of the things that you're going to do with it. So when you say, how do I create a date? It says, like this. So it's really easy to use. And it plays really well with other WordPress stuff. So if you're using WordPress all import, you can import straight into your custom fields. I think the pro version of WordPress multi-language will translate custom fields for you, which is really nice because we can make a Spanish translation of our projects and translate that extra information. So let's add some fields to the homepage. Calls everything field groups. So here we're going to create a field. I'm adding it to the front page. So these will show up anytime something has been designated as the front page inside of the WordPress settings. And I'm going to call it service 1. I'm giving it the template, the field name, which is the tag that I'll use in the template in order to render this. And I've decided I wanted it to be a text. Sorry, it's a little bit difficult to see, but at the bottom it says field type, and the type is text. There are a bunch of different field types. This is actually just the same drop-down, but it was too big for the slides. You have text areas, numbers, ranges, emails, passwords. All of those have sort of their own validation that goes into them, so the password has to have an @ symbol. There's content, so you can link directly to an image, directly to a file, and those are straight in the media manager. There's a WYSIWYG editor that's essentially a clone of the editor that's already in WordPress. Some of these are available in Advanced Custom Fields Pro. We'll talk about that later. Personal favorites of mine happen to be in the relational field. So there's one called Relationship, and that will bring up a list of other posts. So that's fantastic if you want to do related posts and you want to choose what those related posts are. So you'd add that field, and then you'd scroll down below, and it would give you a list of all your other posts. And so you just tag the 3 that you want, it highlights them for you, and now those extra posts are available in this to loop out at the bottom of your template or however you need to do it. Date pickers are really nice. Other ones I commonly use are the select checkbox, radio box. A lot of the projects I'll do, they might have a, check this box to make it blue or check this box to do something. You can use the select, and that would allow you to change the background if you wanted to of that container. So I might say, gray background, blue background, and red background, and then I can use that to control my CSS in my template and that sort of thing. All the fields, there's so much configuration you can do, but they've done a great job of tucking it out of the way for you, but these are just some of the things you can do on this particular field. I can say, should I allow them to select multiple things? Do I actually want to store null values in the database? That's kind of a different animal that is necessary at times, depending on what you're building. You can control on a lot of these fields what's actually returned when you get it. So here I'm just saying whatever's in the database, give that back to me, but you can do some extra things there. It has conditional logic, so you can hide and show fields depending on some other field that's checked. So you might have something where you say, Maybe you have a long version of a post and a short version of a post, and you can just put a little checkbox at the top that says make long version, and when you click that box to make it the long version, all of the extra fields then show up, and until then they're hidden out of the way. That can be a really nice feature for clients, so you just take the concern away from them. And here's an example of the select field. You can say whether you wanted to make it required. Every field gives you the options to put out a little bit of text to tell your client or remind yourself what this actually does, or what the formats should be, what the image sizes should be, these kinds of things. Here I'm controlling what the icons are going to be. So we've got a brain icon, a droplet, a fire truck, lightning bolt. On the left of that are short lowercase words that I'm controlling. That's what's actually going to be saved in the database. The word fire truck is actually what's shown on screen to the admin. So here I'm gonna, when I build this theme, I know I'm gonna coordinate my icons as CSS classes or something like that. So in my template, I'll just loop out the word brain, and then my CSS is gonna show the brain icon. So that gives me all this flexibility here as a developer, but I can still show the nice brain icon to the client so they know what they're going to get. And here I'm saying, show these fields when the page type is front page. There's other options you can do, ands, ors, any combination of that. And under where it says page type there's post, post type, post category, post tag, page type, template. There's just a bajillion ways to attach this to specific stuff. This is an ACF Pro thing, and I put it here just because that's where we are in the specific building. But for the testimonial, we only want them to be on the home page, and we want to have a bunch of them. But we don't know exactly how many we want to have, but we all know that they all have the exact same format. They have an image, they have a name, and they have some text. Advanced Custom Fields Pro has something called a repeater. A repeater allows you to make a couple fields, group them together, and then you can recycle that whole set over and over and over as many times as you want. Or it gives you options to say there has to be one, but there can only be 3 at most. Or you can say there doesn't have to be any, but you have 5 at max, or you can do these kinds of things. The repeater works exactly the same as the full thing. So when I click add field to the repeater, well, this is the complete one, it just brings up the same list of fields. So if you've already created a field set and you know how to add fields and label them, that kind of thing, creating a repeater is the exact same process. Really nice the way they've managed the UI here. It just works exactly the same. So once you've done it once, you're kind of done it all the times you're going to need to do it. So here's creating the testimonials. So there's a testimonial name, image, text, and those get added to the homepage. So now here's all my homepage fields. And now that we know about the repeater, I would probably go back and I would say, well, the services are the exact same thing as the repeater. It's the same type, it's the same format, just repeated a few times. So I'd actually go back and reformat those to use a repeater as well. This appears below the editor, so this is actually the home page edit screen. So above that we have the standard WordPress text editor. And then here you can see we've got, this is the first for the service, so I've got where the text would be, and then below I've got my choices, just as a simple drop down. Here's an empty testimonial. I've clicked the add testimonial button on the home page, and we've got a slot for the name. Click to add an image, that just pulls up the media manager, and you pick an image, type in the text, what are they said? So Chuck did a great job, there I am. And here's adding another one. So at the top you can see the end of the text of the previous testimonial, and now we've got blank fields down for the next testimonial. And we would just do that until we have 3, 4, 5, however many testimonials we plan to have. Lots of fields for the project page. We created another field set. We'll call it project. Don't have any fields yet, but at the bottom I've now added this to the post type of project. So now any time I create a new project or go to edit a project as a post type, all these fields will show up at the bottom. So we already saw the title one, and so that's the text field is what we would use for the project manager name. For the date fields, we get some nice things here. This can be really useful as a developer, depending on what you're going to do with this. So that can be really useful. Like, so the client can type in the nice, 10/2/2018 date, but then you can get a nice formatted date that you're going to parse using high charts, or you're going to parse using JavaScript somehow. So you actually need year-month-day to use in your JavaScript on your page, but you want your client to see the standard way that people write dates. So that's a really nice feature depending on how complex your page is. It has another group that I really like. It's similar to the repeater. It works the same as the repeater, but you can only use it once. It's called a group. You create the group, you give it a label, and then you just add more fields to that. The group is nice because you get all of this stuff in your template in one shot. So instead of having to say, I want the, this is for location is actually what I'm going to add here. Instead of saying I want the location street, and I want the location this, and I want the location that, I can just say, give me the location, and then it'll give me anything inside of the group. It's just a convenience factor for a developer, but it's really nice to have. And here I've decided this has to be required. So every field has a little required checkbox, and then it won't save the post until it has that. Here's all of our fields for our project. See, they're all required. We've also added the image gallery. And this is how the fields appear below the editor in the gallery. I've got space for the manager name, start, end dates. Here I've actually gone ahead and changed the location to be a real address where I've got city, state, zip code, that kind of stuff. The image gallery is a ACF Pro field. It's really nice. So you get a blank area here, click add to gallery. It pulls up the media just like as if you were in the regular editor. Here I said I want these 4 or 5 images, and then they show up right there. You can drag and drop these around if you want to change the order. The other nice thing that's just convenient, they have some editing. So you can click here and change the caption or the alt text. This is really nice for like accessibility and that kind of stuff. If someone forgot to add an alt description or a caption, you can add that here and use those in your template. Using them in templates is super easy. They've done a great job of following sort of the WordPressy way to do things. So we have something called the field, which takes the field and just automatically echoes it out, just like it would in WordPress when you use the content. We also have get field, medium size, but if you add a thumbnail, it will do that for you as well if you add your own custom size. So using them as templates, very straightforward. Is our original project any better? Well, yeah, we can do all the stuff we need to now. We can do everything there, we can do everything there. Blog was already easy, so now the whole thing is easy. The project's pretty much finished. Some other ideas that you can do, so you can create your own events post. It can be a nice alternative to using an event plugin. You create a date, and then you can filter on that date in your queries you can have a different page. That's nice because you can also have the image gallery. This is great for team members. It's pretty much the same process before. I'm just using different methods here, essentially, instead of what I've had. So using them in a template is just as easy as anything else you've been doing. And here's the actual markup that I'm using on the screen. So I've got get the title. That's just I just like to do that. I've got get the title, which is just pulling the post title from WordPress. And then I've got all my information there. Location is that example of it being a group. The group returns a PHP array, and I'm just spitting out the keys of the array there at the bottom. I've got the content down at the bottom, or good old WordPress thing. And here the images as well. The images come to you as an image array. And it includes all the information about the image. It's got the caption, the alt text, the sizes. Here I'm using the members, and the team members are going to have a bio, a LinkedIn address, a Twitter handle, and maybe something else about them. The description of what their job title is. Super great for team members. Advanced Fields Pro has an option to create an options page, which is kind of like a ghost page that doesn't exist anywhere, but stores fields. So that's really great for global stuff, maybe stuff that's going to be in the footer on every page. It's really great for social media URLs to your profiles and stuff like that you're going to use on every page. You can use this to add Twitter and Open Graph cards to all your posts. You can add fields to control what those cards should say, and then you loop that out in a template up in the head so that you can get your Twitter cards and Open Graph cards. There's also something else called the flexible content field. It's essentially kind of like a repeater, but you can change. You don't have to repeat the same fields. You can have different fields in every different thing, so you can do different layouts with that. Do you need advanced custom fields? Yeah. Well, seriously though, if you're building something for someone else, more than likely you need advanced custom fields, but we'll see. So if your data just doesn't fit in the editor easily, if you have to do any layout in the editor, it's probably useful. If you repeat a lot of the same types of information, it would be useful. And if your project has to be idiot-proof because some of the people who are going to be using it are you said it. This is fantastic. Should you get Pro or the regular? I'll confess, I learned about Pro and I just jumped in the deep end. I've never actually used the free version. I bought Pro because of the repeater field, thinking, oh, it'd be nice to have, and I've used it on every project I've done since in the last 4 years. I've not done a WordPress project in 4 years without this plugin and without using the repeater. But if you think the repeater is useful, absolutely. The option pages are wonderful for storing content that's going to be used globally. The gallery field is really nice. It's just so easy to use. There's a thing called a clone field, which just makes things easier for people on the back end to copy values from another place. And also the flexible content. I know some people doing some very interesting things with the flexible content where the whole website is actually just stacks of different fields and they kind of scrap the editor altogether. So they'll have 2-column, 3-column, giant image, sign up, all this sort of stuff, and the whole website is kind of like just stacks of these layers. Here's some resources. The Advanced Custom Fields website. The documentation is really good. It's really easy to use. There's a few things I can never remember how to do, and I go there, and the examples are fantastic. The Advanced Custom Fields Pro, you can go there and you can see what fields you're actually getting in the Pro. Quick note on Gutenberg is, from what I understand right now, Advanced Custom Fields and Gutenberg are playing well. I have not tried this, but from what I understand, they're playing well together at the moment. There's a whole write-up. The makers of Advanced Custom Fields, they're looking into, okay, how do we advance custom fields? Gutenberg, not as in how do we add our fields to Gutenberg, but how do we create an Advanced Custom Fields thing that allows you to build blocks for Gutenberg? So that looks pretty promising. And last, the slides are available down there if you do not have them already.